Every month you spend chasing the absolute maximum Social Security payout at age 70 is a month of physical freedom you can never, ever buy back. And most people do not realize the heavy toll of that trade until it is far too late. We treat our final decades like a math test. We build elaborate spreadsheets, optimize our claiming ages to the exact month, and assume that life will politely wait for our portfolio to hit its peak. The spreadsheet always proves you maximized your income, but the human story reveals a completely different outcome. And that discrepancy between what the numbers promise and what human life actually delivers is where the real tragedy of retirement planning lies. Consider Marcus, a 62-year-old engineer who spent his entire career listening to standard financial advice. The advice was always the same. Keep working, hold off on your Social Security, let those monthly benefits compound by 8% every single year, and retire wealthy at 70. Marcus followed that script down to the letter. He skipped vacations, worked late nights, and pushed through chronic fatigue in his early 60s because he believed that a bigger guaranteed government check at the finish line would make up for all of it. He thought he was being disciplined. He thought he was securing his future. Instead, Marcus was participating in a quiet psychological trap that behavioral economists call the optimization delusion. It is the persistent belief that if you sacrifice enough comfort and time today, tomorrow will automatically compensate you with an abundance of unblemished health and leisure. But human biology does not care about your spreadsheet. Right around his 68th birthday, just 2 years shy of his magic target age of 70, Marcus noticed a persistent numbness in his hands. Within 6 months, an unexpected medical diagnosis completely restructured his universe. The active retirement he had postponed a decade to fund, the hiking trips, the cross-country road trips, the freedom to explore, vanished off the table. He lived for 3 more years, receiving his maximized, peak Social Security check every single month. And do you know what the most painful part was? He had more money coming into his bank account than he could physically use, and less physical capability to enjoy even a fraction of it. When his daughter looked back at his final years, she made a heartbreaking observation. Her father had traded the best, most vibrant years of his 60s for a higher monthly check that served no purpose other than sitting in a checking account. The financial optimization strategy had worked brilliantly on paper, but the human strategy had failed completely. And this leads us straight into a deeper question that almost nobody asks. What is the actual exchange rate between $1 of guaranteed government income and a year of uncompromised human vitality? We rarely ask that question because society trains us to look at money as the ultimate scorecard. We are terrified of running out of cash, so we overinsure our future while underinvesting in our present. Loss aversion grips us by the throat. We would rather suffer through 4 extra years of stressful work at age 65 than risk receiving a slightly smaller Social Security check at age 70. We let fear dictate our timeline. We assume that working past 62 is just a neutral extension of our career. A simple matter of trading more time on the job for more zeros in the bank account. We completely miss the invisible tax being levied on our finite physical energy. Because when you keep working after 62 while simultaneously delaying your Social Security, you are making a massive, irreversible wager. You are betting that your body will hold up. You are betting that the statistical averages apply to you personally. And you are betting that the future version of yourself will value an extra few $100s a month more than the present version of yourself values a Tuesday afternoon spent completely free. Sometimes that bet pays off. Many healthy retirees work well into their late 60s, enjoy every bit of it, and reap the full rewards of a delayed Social Security claim. But thousands of others discover, too late, that they were saving for a future they never got to inhabit. And that introduces a fascinating behavioral twist. Why do intelligent, highly rational people fall into this exact trap over and over again? It is because of how our brains process certainty versus uncertainty. A guaranteed 8% annual increase in your Social Security benefit for every year you delay past 62 feels like a sure thing. It is printed in official government publications. It is backed by federal law. It looks safe, clean, and mathematically undeniable. In contrast, your future health is entirely uncertain. It cannot be graphed on a spreadsheet. It cannot be guaranteed by an agency in Washington. Our brains naturally latch onto the cert number because uncertainty makes us anxious. We use the certainty of financial optimization as an emotional security blanket to hide from the terrifying unpredictability of our own mortality. We say to ourselves, if I just focus on maximizing my checks, everything else will take care of itself. It is a comforting illusion, and it leads directly to another hidden layer that completely alters how we view our final working years. The trap of the invisible earnings test cliff. Most people think that if they keep working past 62, they can just collect their salary, ignore Social Security for a few years, and everything remains clean and compartmentalized. They do not realize that the government maintains a strict accounting eye on your wages if you ever decide to mix work and benefits before your full retirement age. If you test the waters and claim your Social Security at 62 while keeping a high-stress consulting gig or a full-time corporate salary, you run headfirst into the earnings limitation test. Earn above $22,300 a year, and the system starts quietly pulling back your monthly check. People experience this as an aggressive penalty, a bureaucratic hand reaching into their pocket because they dared to stay productive. The psychological friction causes immense anger. Workers feel as though they are being punished for their work ethic. They do not realize that the withheld money isn't gone forever. It is recalculated later, but the emotional scar remains. It triggers a deep sense of distrust toward the entire system, making people feel like they are navigating a maze blindfolded. And that brings us to yet another layer that nobody talks about in standard retirement seminars. The silent tax torpedo that detonates when your wage income collides with your retirement distributions. Imagine you reach 65. You are still working part-time, pulling in a solid salary. At the same time, you start taking small withdrawals from your traditional IRA to cover living expenses, thinking you are spreading out the tax load. What you miss is the interaction between your wages, your IRA distributions, and the provisional income formula established back in 1984. A formula that has never been indexed to modern inflation. Suddenly, your combined income pushes past the invisible government thresholds. And just like that, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits become completely taxable. You kept working to stay ahead. You delayed your payouts to get a bigger check. Yet, the tax code quietly reaches in and takes back a massive slice of what you fought so hard to build. It feels like a rigged game where the rules change right as you reach the finish line. And that realization brings us to the final, most haunting layer of all. Retirement identity shock. When you spend 40 years defining your worth by your productivity, your title, and the relentless accumulation of wealth, walking away can feel like stepping off a cliff into an abyss. People think the hardest part of retirement is managing the money. They spend decades stressing over tax brackets, portfolio returns, and claiming charts. Then they finally cross the line. The bank account is overflowing. The Social Security check is maximized to its absolute limit. And they wake up on a quiet Tuesday morning feeling completely hollow. Because they realized they spent their entire life preparing for the financial transition while completely ignoring the human transition. They optimized the cash flow, but they completely forgot to build a life to fund. Let that sink in for a moment. What is the point of delaying your benefits, working past 62, and squeezing every last dollar out of the system if you arrive at the destination exhausted, unmoored, and disconnected from what makes you feel alive? This is why the decision to keep working after 62 cannot be reduced to a simple financial formula. It has to be evaluated as a holistic life choice. It requires brutal honesty with yourself. Are you working because you genuinely love the puzzle of your career and want the social connection? Or are you working because a quiet, paralyzing fear of running out of money is driving your every move? Are you delaying your Social Security because the math genuinely favors your specific longevity and tax situation? Or are you doing it out of a superstitious belief that taking benefits early is somehow a sign of financial weakness? The answers to those questions change everything. They reveal the difference between designing a retirement that serves your life